It's safe to swim here at Port St Mary. The water quality is excellent according to the Marine Conservation Society, but that's not the case elsewhere in the Isle of Man. I'm with Environment Minister Phil Gawne. Now, the Marine Conservation Society has only failed 14 beaches throughout the whole of the British Isles, and 3 of those are in the Isle of Man. Why is that?
Well, I think we have to look at the infrastructure that we've got in place to try and tackle these problems. I think encouragingly is the beaches that are covered by the IRIS scheme are passing. It's the ones that aren't covered by IRIS that are having the most problems. So that's Peel, Kirkmichael and Ramsey. So hopefully with the work that's planned for those areas, we will be able to improve the standards at those beaches.
So the IRIS project has made a difference then to the beaches around the island?
Yes, it has. We still have to look further at some of the standards that are being applied, because as of next year, the standards are going to be set much higher, and that likely is going to result in more beaches failing because the standards are going to be set at a higher level. That will be more beaches failing in the Isle of Man, but it will also probably be the case around the British Isles.
Now, the Marine Conservation Society have said that, I think from 2016, if a beach fails to reach the minimum standards, it will have to display a sign warning people that the water's just not fit to swim in. I mean, that could have massive implications for us as a tourist destination.
Yes, absolutely, and this is why in a recent answer in the House of Keys I've agreed that we need to look further at the standards that we're using to monitor the environment, particularly in relation to water pollution. So we have that commitment now. We are looking at what standards we should be able to use, but clearly there are quite significant expenses relating to any new standards that we may wish to impose.
This might sound like too simple a question, but what's the problem in Peel, Kirkmichael and Ramsey? Why is the water quality so poor?
Well, the top and bottom of it is raw sewage is being pumped into the bays, and that clearly is not a good position. So the sooner we can actually get improved standards introduced there, the better. Now, there is a plan developing for Peel at the moment, and certainly if I were in charge of the new Manx Utilities Authority, I would be looking to look to the more stringent 2006 EU standard rather than the one that we currently apply, which I think is 1976, but don't quote me on that.
But so we do need to be changing that criteria then in the Isle of Man, you think?
We certainly have to have a look at it. We have to look at how much expense there is associated with that. We have to look at the international reputation of the Isle of Man. If all the beaches on the Isle of Man kept failing, then clearly that's not good for our tourism in particular, let alone the health of the people living here. So we need to look at all these things, but sadly with these things there's a big price tag going to be associated with it, because it's not just about sewerage, it's also about runoff from agricultural land, and also just runoff from streets. If there's dog mess in streets, and that washes down through the system and out into the sea. There's a range of issues there that have to be looked at, and it's not going to be cheap if we do try to impose the higher standard.
Now Ramsey is one of our biggest towns. Why wouldn't that be covered by IRIS?
Well, it just simply hasn't got that far yet. IRIS is a big capital programme. It has covered the south of the island, but south, middle, east of the island, but it's still got to get to Laxey, Ramsey, Peel, Kirkmichael.
Now it's almost a hidden problem, isn't it? Peel Beach, for example, looks fantastic. It looks really clean. The sand is lovely. You go up to Laxey again, you've got clear waters. You'd think it would be safe to swim in, and yet these are the beaches with the problems.
Yes, and I suppose what we should take some heart from is that people have been swimming in these areas for generations. And whilst there are some problems associated with swimming in these areas, generally speaking, most people who swim in the sea in these areas are relatively fit, and they survive the experience. But clearly, if newer standards, higher standards are being imposed everywhere else in Europe, we have to look at ourselves and think, well, can we continue to avoid trying to meet these standards as well?
And in the meantime, should we be preventing our children from paddling on Peel Beach?
I don't think so. I mean, again, it's all a question of degree, I suppose, as to how you look at it. As I say, children have been swimming in these areas for all my lifetime and generations before that, without huge undue effect. So I don't think it's a major concern in that regard. But I do think that if the rest of the world or the rest of Europe is endeavouring to meet these higher standards, it's going to be difficult for us to resist that in the Isle of Man.